Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 132, About with Sprout. The episode begins with Ash and the gang finally having arrived at the outskirts of Violet City, with Ash more excited than ever to take on his first Johto gym. As they finally enter the city and begin walking down a path, Pikachu stops to smell some flowers along the way, but he's interrupted when two kids proceed to come up to him and try and play with him. They're being pretty rough, as they were fighting over the Pikachu, each of them wanting to have it all to themselves, so Pikachu mistakes this as an intentional attack against it, and is about to shock them, being fed up with their continuous grabbing and poking. Thankfully, Ash is able to realize that Pikachu is about to shock them, and manages to grab hold of Pikachu before he does, although he gets shocked as a result. As Ash explains that the Pikachu was his, and asks the kids why they thought they had the right to play with him like that, they simply retort that they thought he was a wild Pikachu. However, before they can finish their explanation, a woman comes running out, calling their names in panic, being Zacky and Izzy respectively, demanding that they get back to class, revealing that she was in fact a teacher, and these were her students. Despite this, Ash and the gang ask her if this was the Violet City Gym, to which she responds that obviously not, no, this was the Pokemon Academy, which focused on teaching kids about Pokemon training so they could grow up to become strong Pokemon trainers. She then introduces herself as Miss Priscilla, and politely points Ash and the gang in the direction of Violet City Gym as she tries to head back inside. However, Brock stops her, having developed a crush on her as you would expect, and therefore he didn't want to leave. So he suggested that since him and his friends were trainers, then they could come in and give some special tutoring lessons to all the kids, and even potentially show them some of their Pokemon. Ash and Misty just wanted to head to the gym, but the teacher, Miss Priscilla, saw how excited Zacky and Izzy were at the prospect of potentially seeing some new Pokemon, that she decided to let Ash and the gang become temporary teachers. First, though, she has to confirm with the principal, Mr. Earl Dervish, and he happily agrees, though he probably barely even registered what the request was, as he was too busy dancing in a ballerina outfit. Misty states her concern to Miss Priscilla that a guy like that was the school's principal, asking if there was anything wrong with him, and Miss Priscilla simply responds that she loved having a principal like Mr. Earl Dervish because he danced with such high energy that would therefore give the kids high energy as well. Upon hearing how Miss Priscilla liked dancing guys, Brock proceeded to get in the same ballerina outfit as the principal and dance with him, hoping that it would impress Miss Priscilla, but unfortunately nothing really came from this, aside from Ash and Misty getting extremely embarrassed. So they decided to cut off the principal and Brock's dancing, as Ash sat at the teacher's desk and tried to think of something to teach about. He can't really think of anything, so he just decides to tell the kids about the Indigo League and how he placed in the top 16, stating that they should take his advice seriously because of this. However, that boy from earlier, Zacky, rebuttals that if they were going to listen to anyone from the Indigo League, they should listen to the winner, not him. All of the kids agree with Zacky, which causes Ash to lose the attention of the kids. So Misty suggests that to regain the kids' attention, they show them all of their Pokemon. So they go outside, and Brock sends out all of his Pokemon, Geodude, Vulpix, Onix, Zubat. Misty sends out all of her Pokemon, Staryu, Poliwag, Goldeen, Psyduck, and then Ash sends out all of his as well. And the kids begin playing, climbing up on Onix and shit, playing with Bulbasaur's Vine Whip, which Bulbasaur uses to attack Heracross, because Heracross tries to sneak up on it. And one of the kids tries to play with Chikorita, but Chikorita simply runs over to Ash and Pikachu and inserts herself between them, acting a little jealous of Ash and Pikachu's relationship due to, Chikorita having that crush on Ash and all. Anyways, as all the kids are playing, Brock then spots a large tower up ahead, Violet City's most famous landmark. Miss Priscilla explains what it is, being Sprout Tower, named for how it was supported by only one beam that swayed back and forth like a Bellsprout. Coincidentally, Miss Priscilla then reveals that she was planning a field trip with her students to Sprout Tower later today, and she invites Ash and the gang to come along so they can see what the inside of Sprout Tower is like. Brock instantly agrees, wanting any chance to be next to Miss Priscilla. Anyways, back with the kids who were playing with all the Pokemon, Zacky was still extremely interested in Pikachu, and despite knowing that it was Ash's, he still wanted it, and tried to convince Pikachu to leave Ash and join him instead. Obviously, Pikachu refused, leading Zacky to try and force Pikachu to join him by pouncing on him. Yeah, that's totally gonna make Pikachu want to join you, buddy. Pikachu gave Zacky a Thundershock in response, as Zacky let out a little yelp, which alerted Ash to the scene. He concerningly asks Zacky what was wrong, with Zacky simply yelling at him to give him his Pikachu. Ash obviously refuses this just as Pikachu did, which makes Zacky cry, and Ash panics, as he didn't want Miss Priscilla to see that he had upset one of her students. He tried to comfort Zacky by leaning in, but Zacky took this opportunity to jump up and tackle Ash, grabbing one of his Pokeballs in the process. One of his empty Pokeballs to be exact, because he intended to capture Pikachu. Even though that probably wouldn't work, because technically Pikachu already had a Pokeball, but Zacky's just a dumb kid. He didn't know that, so he tried to capture Pikachu, but Pikachu ran away due to being scared of Pokeballs, leading Zacky to run after him off of the school premises. Although Ash acknowledged that Zacky was being a major brat, he still felt responsible for Zacky running off, so he decided to go after him. Chikorita tries to stop him, wanting to spend time with Ash, but Ash denies Chikorita as he recalls all of his Pokemon into their Pokeballs, including Chikorita, and heads off in search of Zacky, informing everyone that once he found him, he would take him straight to Sprout Tower, where he would meet the rest of them when they came on their field trip. As for Zacky, he had managed to catch up to Pikachu, and noticed his ears sticking out from behind a bush, where Pikachu was trying to hide from him. However, he wasn't able to hide, as Zacky threw Ash's Pokeball, and somehow fucking caught Pikachu in it. Yeah, no, just kidding. Pikachu ran away, unbeknownst to Zacky, meaning that he must have caught another Pokemon somehow, he just didn't know it. Zacky, not knowing this, fully believes that he had caught Pikachu, and proceeds to celebrate, cheering loudly, which alerts Ash, who was now able to catch up to him. When Zacky tells Ash that Pikachu had now joined him, Ash was in immense disbelief and proceeded to tackle Zacky to the ground, wanting to get back Pikachu, who he believed was in the Pokeball. They scuffled on the ground for a little bit, with Zacky bragging how he was a better trainer than Ash if Pikachu chose him, and Ash simply demanding Pikachu back, when suddenly they landed in one of Team Rocket's pitfall traps after moving a bit too far in one direction. Team Rocket immediately revealed themselves in ancient Japan kimono disguises, probably because of the Sprout Tower and everything related to that. Because in the games, the tower's like inhabited by monks and shit. But anyways, as they do their motto, Meowth gets a little too preoccupied by banging a drum, which pisses off even James and Jesse, even though they love doing the motto. Team Rocket then sarcastically thanked Zacky for catching Pikachu for them so they didn't have to do any of the work, and tried to make a deal with him, saying that if he gave them Pikachu, then they would let him out of the hole. Zacky obviously refuses, and then Ash asks for the Pokeball back so that he could send out Pikachu and command him to use Thunderbolt, but Zacky just claims that he wanted to do it since Pikachu was his Pokemon now, so he sends Pikachu out of the Pokeball, commanding it to use Thunderbolt, but it's then that he realizes that Pikachu wasn't actually in the Pokeball, like I had said earlier. Instead, he had caught a different Pokemon, which was revealed to be Bellsprout. The Bellsprout jumps out of the hole, and when James sees it, he stupidly thinks that Pikachu was sick, and that's why it looked different. But when they realize that it was in fact not Pikachu, Meowth realizes that they're going to need to come up with a new plan to actually find him, and comes up with the idea to use a voice amplifier to change their voice to Ash's, and then call for Pikachu, thinking that they could lure Pikachu out by doing this. With the Bellsprout not doing anything against Team Rocket, they were free to initiate their plan, as they got out some voice amplifiers and changed the voice to Ash's, hid up in a tree, and shouted out cries for help. Pikachu heard what he thought was Ash's cries for help, and sure enough, this caused him to run to the source of the voice, right below the tree, allowing Team Rocket to throw a net at him. Just before the net makes contact, though, the real Ash shouts out from inside the hole for Pikachu to dodge the net, and he manages to alert Pikachu quick enough so he's able to do so. Ash and Zacky then picked up the net that had been dropped on the ground and use it to help them climb out of the hole. Pikachu then runs up into Ash's arms, who instructs him to use Thunderbolt on Team Rocket, who are still up in the tree, and when Pikachu does this, this causes Team Rocket to go blasting off. Ash, Zacky, and Pikachu then begin making their way to Sprout Tower, with Bellsprout still following them from behind, trying to bond with Zacky without Zacky even noticing. Speaking of Sprout Tower, everyone else had now arrived for the field trip, and Miss Priscilla was explaining Sprout Tower's main attraction being the one wobbly beam that supported it. She explained how this beam symbolized to a lot of trainers humble beginnings, as they viewed themselves as wobbly and fragile when they first began their journey, and then when they came back to Sprout Tower at the end of their journey, they were able to reminisce on their early memories. Also explaining that Sprout Tower was called Sprout Tower because it was one of the main places where trainers began their journeys, or they sprouted. Misty and Brock joke that Ash should come here whenever he gets overconfident so he can be reminded of his humble beginnings, and this statement is heard by Team Rocket, who had blasted off onto Sprout Tower's roof and were now eavesdropping. Upon hearing that Ash would potentially be coming to Sprout Tower, Team Rocket come up with a plan so that they can get Ash's Pikachu for real this time, but it requires everyone else to leave the building. So, James sends out his wheezing and has it use smokescreen to make everyone think that there was a fire. This works, as Miss Priscilla orders everyone to get out of the building and run outside to safety. Meanwhile, Ash and Zacky were still walking back to Sprout Tower, and Bellsprout was still trying to bond with Zacky, but Zacky just wanted Pikachu, man. He didn't care about Bellsprout. He wasn't standing for it, as he just ignored it and walked away angrily. He once again demanded Ash for his Pikachu instead, but Ash denied him, causing Zacky to cry. Despite Zacky's utter rejection towards it, Bellsprout tries his best to cheer Zacky up by doing some weird movements, and this makes Zacky laugh a little bit, as he grows to appreciate Bellsprout at least a little. Ash and Zacky then approach Sprout Tower and see the smoke coming out of it from Wheezing's smokescreen, and also assume that there was a fire. So when they arrive, Ash sends out his Squirtle and meets up with Misty and Brock, as Misty sends out her Poliwag. Squirtle and Poliwag both fire water guns at the smoke, but Brock realizes that it was doing nothing, which made sense, as there was no fire. A frustrated Misty then recalls her Poliwag as she questions why the fuck the water wasn't helping, leading Team Rocket to appear on the balcony of Sprout Tower and reveal themselves, stating that they knew the reason why, and luring Ash and the gang to come inside and take a look. Ash and the gang hesitate, but they oblige, going back inside Sprout Tower with Miss Priscilla and her class, where they immediately see Team Rocket's plan underway. They had Lickitung, Arbok, and Wheezing destroying the support beam with a saw and strapping a rocket to it. Meowth holds up a control and reveals their intention to literally blast off Sprout Tower into the sky once the support beam was destroyed, if Ash didn't comply and give them Pikachu. Despite Meowth's warning, Ash still denied giving them Pikachu. But Pikachu, not wanting to put anyone inside Sprout Tower or the tower itself in danger, decides to sacrifice himself and walk over to Team Rocket, willingly handing himself over. He doesn't try and give up without a fight though, as he thundershocks Jessie as soon as she picks him up, only for Jessie to reveal that it did nothing because they had planned for this and were wearing electric-proof suits. Now why don't they just wear those all the time? Anyways, with Pikachu unable to do anything, Team Rocket ties him to the rocket so he can't escape, and Ash tries to send out another Pokemon to fight Team Rocket, but Meowth simply reminds him that if he did, he would launch the rocket right on the spot, also barreling up Pikachu at that point as well, as if destroying the Sprout Tower wasn't enough. Just then though, Zacky stepped in, ordering Bellsprout to use Razor Leaf, which knocked Meowth's remote control out of his hand. Jessie orders Arbok to retrieve it, but Ash is able to send out his Squirtle and has him use Water Gun on the Arbok, stopping it in its tracks. Ash then sends out his Bulbasaur and has him use Vine Whip to actually retrieve Meowth's remote control. Zacky then steps up yet again and has his Bellsprout use Razor Leaf on Wheezing and Lickitung, which stops them from cutting down the rest of Sprout Tower's support beam. Team Rocket were still able to go through with the initial goal of their plan, though, which was stealing Pikachu and lifting up Sprout Tower, as the rocket still had a manual override system that Meowth was able to utilize, so they could jump on the rocket and proceeded to escape on it, with Pikachu still attached. As some students who were still outside spotted the Sprout Tower rising up, Ash's Bulbasaur and Zacky's Bellsprout then both used Razor Leaf yet again to cut the rope that was tying Pikachu to the rocket, allowing Pikachu to jump down into Ash's arms. With Pikachu's rope being cut, this also meant that Team Rocket had lost their connection to the rocket, causing the rocket to go spiraling out of control, blasting off through the Sprout Tower roof at immense speed because there was nothing holding it back from moving anymore like the rope was. The rope was kind of restricting its rapid movement. With Team Rocket gone in the rocket, Ash suggests that they find someone to help fix Sprout Tower's beam, but Zacky reassures him that the beam would be fine on its own, as it has stood tall for hundreds and hundreds of years at this point. But I mean, I think getting someone to fix it would probably be the best idea. I doubt it's just going to magically heal itself. Zacky then hugs his Bellsprout, thanking it for all the help in the battle. He had finally warmed up to it, and Bellsprout was glad. Even though Team Rocket had already literally blasted off on the rocket while they were enjoying the ride, the rocket then exploded, causing Team Rocket to blast off for real. The manual override system was probably designed pretty shit, and it caused it to explode. I don't know the reason. Ash and Misty say goodbye to the kids and Miss Priscilla, but Brock, on the other hand, does not want to go, because he wanted to stay with Miss Priscilla. Dude, was he going to pull Professor Ivy again? I mean, Miss Priscilla seemed pretty happy to let him stay, even offering him a teaching job. But when Earl Dervish jumped in and clarified that the only open position for a teaching job was another dance instructor, Brock instantly decided to go with Ash and Misty, revealing that when he previously danced with Principal Dervish, it was a hellish experience. Zacky then wishes Ash luck in the Johto League, and says that he'll battle Ash when his Bellsprout evolves into a Weepinbell and eventually a Victreebel. Ash agrees, and waves goodbye to Miss Priscilla, Mr. Earl Dervish, and all of the kids, including Zacky, as he heads for Violet City Gym. It was time for his first Johto Gym battle.